There's a room in the National Archaeological Museum of Heraklion where most tourists go in, take a picture, and leave in 3 minutes. The frescoes? The same ones. Bulls, acrobats, women in elaborate headdresses. You've seen them. You think you know who painted them. You don't. No one did. Until geneticists asked the question that archaeologists, for some reason, never asked. And the answer didn't just disprove the dominant theory. It destroyed it completely. But first, one fact to keep in mind. The Minoans left behind writing. Hundreds of tablets. Linear A. We know it's a language. We know roughly what it sounded like. And we still don't understand a single word. Not a single one. This is not a poetic metaphor. This is the literal state of affairs as it stands today. They left us a voice, and it remains completely deaf. Keep that in mind as we move on. Arthur Evans arrived in Crete in 1900 with a shovel and a theory that had already formed before the first blow. He excavated the Palace of Knossos, a complex so intricate that he himself called it the Labyrinth, and decided the Minoans had grown up here on the island in isolation without much outside influence. Cretan civilization as a product of the Cretan soil. Pure, elegant, wrong. But here's what makes this mistake important. Evans controlled access to the site for 30 years. He reconstructed the palace. And these reconstructions became so embedded in the perception of the Minoans that it became almost impossible to separate the original from its interpretation. The frescoes you saw, the colors, some of the figures, partially restored by Evans, according to his own understanding of what they should have been. This is not an accusation. This is context. And this context shaped the debate for the next century. In the early 2000s, there were 3 theories. A Neolithic Cretan population, Evans and his followers. A migration from North Africa or Egypt due to artistic parallels and geography. An Anatolian or Levantine origin, associated with the spread of agriculture. Each had evidence. Each had advocates. The debate raged on. Not because the question was uninteresting, but because there was no tool capable of answering it. And then along came ancient DNA, and everything changed in a year. Stamatoyiannopoulos' study, published in Nature Communications in 2013, 37 individuals. Burials in caves on the Lassithi Plateau, central Crete, dating to the Minoan Palace period, about 3,700 years ago. Mitochondrial DNA compared to 135 modern and ancient populations. And a result that was initially difficult to understand. North African and sub-Saharan lineages excluded. Not weakly represented. Not possible given sampling error. Excluded cleanly. The Egyptian hypothesis, the one that had held up longer than the others, was crumbling, and the evidence pointed in a different direction. Neolithic European populations and ancient Anatolian farmers. 2 sources, mixed, visible in every sample. Stop there. Because Anatolian farmers is not an abstraction. These people had been moving west since about 7,000 BC. 7,000 years before the palace at Knossos was built, which, if you think of it as a proportion, is most of the entire recorded prehistory of Europe. They brought wheat, barley, pottery techniques, specific people, specific movements, and a genetic signature that was preserved in Cretan bones millennia later. The Minoan identity did not appear on the island in isolation. It came from afar. And it carried with it the memory of migrations that the Minoans themselves were unlikely to know about. 17 added a crucial detail. A larger study in nature used nuclear DNA, not just the maternal mitochondrial line, but a full genomic analysis. The difference is fundamental. Mitochondrial DNA is one stream of information. Nuclear DNA is the entire calculation. The result confirmed the Anatolian origin with greater precision, and added something new. The Minoans were genetically different from the Mycenaeans, from the people who eventually absorbed their civilization. What this means will become clear in a minute. But first, the broader context, without which the Minoan picture does not make complete sense. If you are still here and have not yet gone to reread everything you thought about ancient Greece, subscribe. We go that deep every week. The Minoan genetic structure is not a unique anomaly. It's part of a pattern that repeats itself across 3 continents. And when you see it simultaneously in the Mediterranean, Africa, and the Americas, something clicks. The Pekian burial complex, northern Israel. 2017 is the same. Chalcolithic, about 7,000 years ago, about 600 people. A genetic mix. Levantine Neolithic, Anatolian Neolithic, Iranian Chalcolithic, in proportions that don't match any modern population in the region. Plus markers of light pigmentation, plus a sharp break between that group and what came after. Same logic. A population genetically distinct from the previous and the next, visible only at one point in the record, and then absorbed. Next, the Takakori mummies, southwestern Libya, 7,000 years old, a line found nowhere else on Earth. Popular,